Hey, Bulls and Bears, it is Sunday, December 11th, 2022, back with another dose of economic reality. Yes, we've got a lot of financial, economic news, banking news to get caught up on. Speaking of banking, we have a major financial institution out there warning about inflation. You don't want to miss that. We're going to talk about that in just a few minutes here. And it's a lot worse than what a lot of people think. So stay tuned for that. We're also going to talk about the erosion of the purchasing power here in the housing market. We're going to talk about the 20 million Americans still behind on utility bills. What have we been hearing since we exited the pandemic? For the most part, we exited. For the most part, we exited. I mean, obviously, there's still people getting sick, and right now, actually, there's an uptick in people getting sick. But for the most part, we heard that there was a financial and economic recovery, right, on the mainstream economic financial news. It's a recovery. It's a recovery. 20 million people still, 20 million households. It's actually worse. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes. But let's start with Bank of America. Bank of America is out there warning, this is out of MoneyWise, hot inflation might run rampant for another 10 years. And what the analysis of Bank of America looked at historically is that when nations' inflation goes above 5%, it typically takes at least, or not at least, on an average of 10 years to get back down to the 2% inflation target. So when inflation is 5% historically, it takes an average of 10 years to return to what many would call normal. That would be the 2% inflation target. But again, let's talk about the 2% inflation target. That's still not good. So if something costs too much and you don't want to buy it because it costs too much, do you want the price to go up slower so you go back next month and the price is even higher, but it's only 2% higher than the previous month? Or do you want the price to come down, right? You want the price to come down. You want deflation. You want things to cost less. So do you want to go in and a watermelon is $1.50 and then next month it's $1.80? Or do you want to go in and next month it's $1, right? So simple, right? The point is the 2% inflation target is ridiculous and it doesn't make any sense at all. So why would we want prices to go up more slowly? I guess 2% is better than 8%, what we're seeing now between 7 and 8%. And by the way, 7 and 8%, those numbers we've been seeing over the past few months, those are manipulated, phony numbers. The government doesn't want to tell the people the real number, because if they did, then people would realize how pitiful their wages are, one, and it would back the government into a corner. They would have to give out bigger Social Security increases to match the real inflation. We know it's actually at least double. People that look into this say between 16 and 20%, could be more than double. But yeah, 2% inflation target. So countries that have over 5% inflation takes an average of 10 years to get back to 2% inflation. And even then, that's still not good because prices are still going up. Can Americans right now afford prices to still go up even 2%? No. And you may say, well, yeah, JJ, the wages are more than 2%, so that would be a good thing. Not everybody has a wage to increase. A lot of people are on fixed incomes. And if you look at the labor force participation rate, we see that 100 plus million are out of the labor force. What are they doing to get by? Are they on some sort of program, some sort of assistance program? Speaking of assistance programs, we're going to talk about next. The 20 million households still, as of now, December 2022, still behind on their utility bills. People are not getting caught up. People are not climbing out of the debt hole. They're not climbing out of their financial situation that they're in. So let's go into that article next. Another MoneyWise article. I expect a tsunami of shutoffs. Now, we've reported on this before, and people say, JJ, it never happens. You've been talking about the tsunami of bankruptcies, of shutoffs. Of course, it's not going to happen. If they keep these programs in here where people don't have to pay it, then it's not going to happen. So are we going to see forever programs where 20 million households just get their utilities paid for free? So we have a lot of people already just surviving on handouts and assistance programs and payment programs. Universal basic income, that's another thing they could put in, and that could kind of hold off the tsunami of bankruptcies and defaults and homelessness. I expect a tsunami of shutoffs. 20 million American households are behind on their utility bills by an average of $788. Folks, this is a recent article, and yes, this sounds familiar because this was also about 20 million last year. So people are not getting on better footing financially. People are still behind. And this is 20 million households. What's the average person in a household, or the average number of people? Is it between 3 and 4? So multiply that by 3 or 4. It could be between 60 and 80 million people are on the verge of their lights being cut off, or on the verge of their heat being cut off. It's a amazing thing when you think about the United States. We're supposed to be the world's richest nation, the world's largest economy. Sure, we're the largest economy when you look at the levels of debt people take on. We have that much consumer spending that we're still looked at as the world's largest economy. As of August, these families owed about a combined $16.1 billion total, the average amount of $788. And the consequences of this could be dire. I'm reading right out of this article here, especially as home heat costs are expected to reach their highest level in over 10 years. And that's another thing. We're in this situation now, 20 million households, and prices are too high, and they're likely just going to go higher. And it's not me saying that. It's Bank of America saying that. Bank of America said it's at least 10 years on average, or an average of 10 years before prices return, before inflation returns to normal. That means prices may never return to normal. They may start going up more slowly, but prices may never return to where they were just a few years ago. Never, right? That's what the data says. That's what Bank of America is saying. That's what a lot of people are saying. It's not going to get better. So strap in and fasten your seatbelts here. Jean Su, a senior attorney at the Center for Biological Diversity, told Bloomberg, quote, "I expect a tsunami of shutoffs." Now, a tsunami of shutoffs means that the rescue programs will have to end, because if people can just keep on getting their utility bills paid for them, then there never has to be a tsunami of utility shutoff. So is that what's going to happen? There's going to be eventually a student loan debt tsunami, a default tsunami, unless they keep this never-ending, what looks like a never-ending student loan repayment freeze in place. So how many of these things are going to be in place permanently to avoid or to hold off the tsunamis that really should be happening? Right now, we should be seeing a tsunami of utility bill shutoff, a tsunami of bankruptcies, a tsunami of foreclosures. Should have happened after 2020 when we had, over 7 million households in a forbearance programs. There should be a tsunami of evictions. We have all these eviction moratoriums in place. They were in place and they're still in place in some cities. Look at California, look at Los Angeles. Moratorium still in place on evictions, right? So a lot of things are just being held off by what many people would call charity. And some people say, yeah, that's the best thing to do. People need charity. Other people say, well, it's not going to fix anything. Giving out charity and handouts is not going to fix anything, because it's not going to fix the cost of living. So the only way to fix this is to go through severe financial economic pain, and that's going to be major price corrections in many areas, the housing. Now, I want to read you something interesting out of this article, and I pointed this out here before. Electricity prices have spiked this year due to the skyrocketing cost of natural gas. Electricity prices skyrocketed because of the skyrocketing cost of natural gas. According to the Energy Information Administration, natural gas is the biggest source of electricity generation in the U.S. So to generate electricity, we need natural gas. So all these people out there saying, let's go all electric, it's going to be better for the environment. No, you still have to get natural gas. You're still going to have to pump oil and basically loot the earth for its resources to go electric, right? So this is not the solution that some people think it is. We see rolling blackouts here in the U.S. Going electric is not going to fix this either. Some people say we need to pump oil, pump to keep the prices down. Other people say it doesn't make any sense to, do this to the earth just to keep the toes warm at night of 7 billion people, right? So you see both sides of the argument. I don't have the answers. I'm just reporting on this, folks. I wish I did have all the answers. But a lot of you have really good ideas, and I read your comments all the time. And some very good, comments that I see all the time here on this channel. Let's jump over to this. Household wealth down by $13.5 trillion in 2022. That's the second worst destruction on record. The bear market in stocks and rapid inflation eroded the real wealth of American households during the first 3 quarters of 2022. So record inflation yeah, people have to spend so much money now just to maintain their lifestyle. That's why we see American savings has plunged now to basically to financial crisis levels between 2005 and 2007 is where we're at now for the average U.S. household's checking or savings account. The second largest drop on record, the first largest drop was as the housing bubble went bust from about mid 2007 down to about the bottom, which was July 2009, as far as household wealth goes. Now we're nowhere near a bottom. We still see the decline here from October of last year, which was the peak, and we've been dropping ever since. Household wealth evaporating with the cost of homes going down, the home equity vanishing, the stock market going down, combined with people's savings being spent away. And we've yet to see the tsunami of bankruptcies, but it's on the way. Yes, they could try to hold it off with rescue programs, but they can't hold it off forever. So it's going to be a slow motion decline into the economic abyss unless there's some sort of shock situation or event that pops up that nobody saw coming. It could be war, it could be a military strike on U.S. soil, could be the power grid goes out, maybe a hack. We do see some grid attacks happening across the U.S. right now. And there's been multiple reports of power grid attacks happening here just recently. Wired. Attackers keep targeting the U.S. electric grid. The Guardian. Attacks on Pacific Northwest Power Station raise fears for the grid. King 5 News. It was deliberate. Power grid stations in Pacific Northwest, recent attacks. Now, there's a lot of stories out there on who it was and why they're happening. Doesn't matter if it was this group, that group, or the boogeyman. When the grid goes down, if it goes down nationally or if it goes down over a wide area of a whole region, let's say the Northwest, the Southeast, it doesn't matter. If you're in that region, if it's large and widespread, and you just can't drive to the next city and fill up your gas tank or go to the ATM machine, if you have to go hundreds or thousands of miles to find electricity to use the ATM machine, it's going to be Mad Max in your area. And if you don't have stuff put away to live on, if you don't have some money put away, some food, a source of energy, I just went out and got a power generator a few months ago, trying to prepare for what's coming because who knows what directions this is going to come from. Could be the financial system goes down, could be the electrical grid goes down. Either way, keep stacking, be prepared because things are not going to get cleared up and back to normal anytime soon. We're going to have to go through a lot of financial pain, and it's the only way around it. The rescue programs, they can hold things off, but ultimately, when somebody's getting something for free, somebody else is going to pay for it. That's the way it is here. Wish it wasn't that way, but that's what it is. Please let me know what you think about all this down in the comments. Bank of America's warning that inflation's not going to return to the 2% inflation for an average of 10 years based on what they've seen out of other countries. And even then, it's not going to be good. That just means prices are still going to go up. What do you think about the 20 million households still behind on their utility bills, over $16 billion? It's outrageous, folks, but that's what's happening. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Big love. Bye for now. Keep stacking, and peace.